Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Stephen Waters review. Now, before we get to the review, can we guess who we will be reviewing? Just look at the screen. Should be given is one of your clues. The other one is that he is a famous artist and is considered an absolute legend in country music. Can you guess? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will be reviewing 2005's biopic, Walk the Line. Now, this one I'm really hugely looking forward to. I'm a huge lover of this film, and if you haven't guessed already, this film, Walk the Line, is of course the biopic of one of country music's greatest icons, the man in black himself, Mr. Johnny Cash. Now, a bit of background info about this film. Now, this film was released in 2005 and was directed by James Mangold, and the film was based on two autobiographies of the life of Johnny Cash. The film was a hit at the box office and was nominated for 5 Oscars and 1 Best Actress Oscar. Now, unlike Christine, which is a cult classic and didn't do well at the time, this one did well at its time, and of course is still considered a great film even by today's standards. And for me, it is a true just gem of biopics. Now, you understand what I mean by biopics. Well, first off, you understand a biopic is basically a film that tells the story of a famous person, but the biopics are usually done for music icons. But of course, there has been some exceptions when they do it for a completely different reason. But overall, yeah. So this is a biopic. So let's get into the plot. Now, for those who don't know, obviously, usually the plot of a biopic usually tells the story of the artist in question. But sometimes it tells it differently or does a different approach. In this film, it tells the story of Johnny Cash from his childhood days to his breakout in the 50s, all the way through his success in the 60s. And there's also side plots, including the story of his love for another, well, in my opinion, should be regarded as a country music icon, June Carter. Also, Johnny Cash's struggles and addiction with drug abuse throughout the 60s. Now, I won't spoil how the movie ends, as you have to see it for yourself, but this is a good film. I will be upfront with that. Let's get to the casting. Now, the casting for this film are: the man in black, Mr. Johnny Cash, was portrayed by Joaquin Phoenix, who by these days is huge now after his successful role in The Joker. Again, by the time this video was released, which he won Oscar for. He was also nominated for an Oscar in this film, but of course lost, but he should have definitely won his Oscar. He absolutely deserved it, should have won it. Reese Witherspoon portrays June Carter. Of course, has many movie credits to her name, but will for heavenly be known for many of us as in the Legally Blonde films, the first 2. Don't ever watch the third one, it's a nightmare. Of course, she won an Oscar for Best Actress. Although, even I admit she did well. Questionable whether she would have won it. Don't want to get too political, but yeah, good for her. Good for her. And of course, Vivian, Johnny Cash's first wife, portrayed by... Let's just get the notes. No, sorry. She was portrayed by Jennifer Goodwin. I happen to know her from the TV show Once Upon a Time. So, yeah. Interesting about this film is the casting of famous people, or at least people Johnny Cash associated with in the 50s and in the late 50s and 60s. Here is Sam Phillips, often crowned as the founder of rock and roll, so I salute you, sir. Sam Phillips here was portrayed by Dallas Roberts. Up here, beside Johnny Cash, are the members of the Tennessee Two, Marshall Grant and Luther Perkins, portrayed by Larry Bagby and Dallas John Miller. They were the backup band. Of course, eventually they would recruit a drummer by the name of W.S. Holland, who was, of course, originally the drummer for Carl Perkins, but later joined Johnny Cash's group. The man was portrayed in this film by Clay Stakely. Now, again, just as like on my Christine and other reviews, sorry if I ever pronounced any of the names wrong. Like I said, he became the drummer. The band will later change the name to the Tennessee 3. Up here are 4 icons from the rock and roll era. Let's just get a bit closer. Now, right here, you've got the Big O, Roy Orbison. The Killer, Jerry Lee Lewis. No introduction. The King, Mr. Elvis Presley. And Carl Perkins, the king of rockabilly, and interesting fact, wrote the original Blue Suede Shoes, portrayed by Jonathan Rice, Waylon Payne, Tyler Hilter, and Johnny Holiday. Rounding up the more important people in the cast is Waylon Jennings, portrayed by Shooter Jennings. Ray Cash, portrayed by Robert Patrick, who of course has done many movie and TV credits to his name, but his most iconic role was in the second Terminator movie as the main villain. Carrie Cash, portrayed by Shelby Lane. And of course, June Carter's parents, Ezra Carter and Maybelle Carter, portrayed by, Dane Bree and Sandra Ellis Lafferty. Sorry if I pronounced the names wrong, but basically, the Carter family, the parents of June Carter. And of course, there are other famous name drops to famous, these people associated with Johnny Cash's family and June Carter's family throughout the film. But I'm not going to list them in the casting bit of this review. Now, this film's best moments. Well, arguably the best moments of this film is arguably the relationship between, and the love story between Johnny Cash and June Carter. Hands down, Reese Witherspoon and Joaquin Phoenix truly have great chemistry between the two, and it's absolutely a joy to watch these two, how they have a respect for each other for their music, but grow to relationship more. Johnny Cash, of course, pursues it in a way, but June was more hesitant to accept, their love, but more preferred, to accept June, as mostly a friend figure type thing. And, we also get to explore, a bit of their, life, behind the scenes, how these two are a little bit behind the scenes, the stage presence these two have. In fact, Reese and Johnny Cash really Reese Witherspoon and Joaquin, sorry, I keep calling Joaquin Johnny Cash, sorry, but basically these two have such a presence on stage, and the story behind the scenes is always just fun to watch, and the two banter off each other. Another thing I really love is the songs. Now, the songs here just sound different. They don't, if you listen, they don't exactly sound exactly like Johnny Cash or like Jerry Lee. They don't exactly sound like the actual artist coming out, but they do sound similar, but they still try to make it their own. In fact, in my opinion, some of the Joaquin's songs that he sings, such as Cocaine Blues, which in my opinion are truly great. In my opinion, his version of Cocaine Blues is, in my opinion, way better than Johnny Cash's, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan. Again, my top 3 favorite artists to listen to any day of the week is Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, and Johnny Cash. Pop, rock, country. Overall, and speaking of, and I just feel like Joaquin just really just nails Johnny Cash. And speaking of that, the reason why to watch this film is the portrayal of his Johnny Cash. We see how the flawed character that he is. Now, he is a man who does struggle to walk the line, to be a good guy, faithful to his wife, but at the same time, he is flawed to walk that line, and we see that throughout the film. His drug problem, we get to see, and honestly, I feel that he honestly rocks the color black more than anyone else to ever portray Johnny Cash. He truly does. The cinematography is great, and how it captures the time period of the late 50s and 60s. Now, does this movie have some worst moments? If I could be honest, a little bit. Now, unlike Christine, where I think there really is no worst moments, not really. Here, I can't deny that there are some worst moments in this film, but not to the point where it makes the film completely terrible. Not exactly. You see, listen to this. In the film, now a biopic, you gotta be careful to make it factually accurate, but at the same time, make sure that it's still enjoyable to watch. And in some biopics, they will add a scene that never really happened in real life, such as the introduction between Cash and Sam Phillips. It didn't play out exactly like that, not at all. What actually happened was Johnny Cash did perform a gospel song to Phillips, but Phillips wasn't really interested and told him to essentially come back with something new. He didn't challenge him to, like, sort of on the spot do a new song. He did like Johnny Cash's voice and the sound, but he didn't exactly play out like that. And also the fact versus fiction, such as the portrayals of some of these characters. Now, for some of them, like Vivian, I don't like how she's portrayed. She's portrayed as a person that, just in later years grew to hate hate Johnny and resent him immensely. I don't feel that portrayal is exactly accurate. Not really. Not really. It feels like they portray almost like that as almost, just almost unlikable characters. Something I really didn't like. Another thing I also want to point out, something I really gripe about, is the involvement with Carl Perkins and Roy Orbison. First off, they don't look anything like, well, at least don't even look similar to those characters. First off, I keep mistaking Roy Orbison for Buddy Holly, who, of course, is another huge late 50s icon. But yeah, I always keep confusing that. And Carl, well, okay, this sounds like a weird gripe, but I don't like the way he dresses. He doesn't dress in the color blue. If you've ever looked at Carl, you can agree that he did wear a lot of blue, because again, he wrote the original blue suede shoes, and I would have liked in the film if we actually got to see him perform blue suede shoes. I would have loved to have seen that. But of course, guys like Carl, Roy, Elvis, Jerry, and Waylon, they are minor characters. They don't really have a huge effect on the story. And yeah, so I can't really blame them for that. But I would have loved to, and reasons like that, however, I will admit, reasons like that is why I would like to have a Carl Perkinson's biopic. In my opinion, that is a biopic that needs to happen. He doesn't get as much recognition as he deserved to having so much involvement in the late 50s. But despite some of these gripes, they're just minor nitpicks and really don't really affect the overall film. It has now the final verdict. We will give this film 4 out of 5 stars. Now, it doesn't get the 5 out of 5 like Christine did, but it is still a good film. Great pacing, great music. The characters are all different and unique. And the depiction of Johnny Cash, Joaquin really just nails it out of the park. I stand by this, he should have won an Oscar, and he does absolute justice to one of not just the greatest country music icons, but one of my favorite artists to have ever lived. Now, that's it for this week. Join me for my next review, when we will be, instead of doing a movie, we will start reviewing a TV show. So join me next week when I review my next TV show. My first TV show series. Now, I will explain the rules to reviewing a TV show. I would love to write your lists in the comments to what TV show you want me to review or movie to review, and even something Bond related. I gladly jump on board. But I will give you a hint to my next TV show review. Can you guess? That is the OC. Join me next time we review the OC. Now, I'm Stephen Waters, and until next time, I'll see you soon.